Welcome, everyone. Noah here on the Dynamics Weekly newsletter and podcast. For the next month or so, I am interviewing class and session presenters for a community summit, which is organized by Dynamic Communities and scheduled for October 19th to the 23rd in Orlando, Florida. And today on our 43rd interview, it's amazing how fast these have flown by. I have Robb Delprado with us. Robb, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Noah. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and the community about the classes and the sessions we're going to be doing.
We are glad to have you here, and you are a pro at this. You've been in the arena here for Dynamics for like going on 30 years almost.
Yeah, I started back in the day with a partner that had a rental vertical. So I spent a lot of time on the road and working with folks who had never even heard of this software. So really cool.
And so you don't focus on all the ERP solutions. You just focus on a few of them.
That is correct. Actually, I focus on Navision, Nav, and Business Central.
Gotcha. Business Central is a big topic nowadays. A lot of people are looking at that more and more. So that may be taking up all your time lately.
It is, because the folks that are on Nav don't have the functionality that Microsoft keeps adding into Business Central. And, it's getting to be where if you want the new stuff, and the other thing is, it's kind of planned obsolescence. The security systems that were applied on the servers running Nav and Navision, they're obsolete. So if you're going to stay, protected, you need to move to that new platform.
Yep. Everybody listening to us today, if you have not met Robb out at conferences, he's usually got the big cowboy hat there. I see him all the time, all the years I've been going to summits and other conferences. So it's easy to spot him in the hallways and the sessions. And you are really big on the conference circuit.
Well, that's kind of it's a meet and greet type of thing. I feel that people learn more and get more benefit from these live sessions. Before COVID hit, we used to have local chapter meetings throughout the country. In fact, we had them in Canada and some of the European countries too, where people would get together in a local environment and talk about some of the smaller, if you will, events, so that it was more opportunity to learn. Nowadays everybody's on the computer and we do all these Teams meetings, but I'll tell you that when you're in a Teams meeting, you don't hear the sidebar conversations that are going on across the table and the other side of the screen. So that's why it's so important, I think, to get out there and meet people and let them know that, there's real stuff going on, and we listen.
So, today we're talking about summits, but you've got on your list Convergence, Directions NA, Directions EMEA, Days of Knowledge, and user group conferences. So, but I'm not sure which ones are the bigger conferences. Is Summit the biggest conference out there that you go to?
Well, Summit is the biggest because it's got all the users in there, but I will tell you that I think there's a lot of focus on the partner conferences. So we've got Directions North America and Directions EMEA, and then I have not been to Directions Asia, but again, those are conferences where the partners get together. I would say that the second biggest conference I go to is probably Directions EMEA, because you get Microsoft brings over, and that's always out in Europe somewhere. This year it'll be in Poznan, Poland. But Microsoft brings their product managers, and a lot more of them than they would bring to the US, because again, it's a lot cheaper to come to a local event out there than it is to bring everybody across the ocean. So that would be the second biggest, I guess.
And you're with L&L Consulting Services, which I have had someone else from your company on one of my interviews lately. I have to go back and see the name of the person, but I recognize L&L.
So that must have been Steve
on my
Chinsky.
list.
He and I have worked together
Steve,
for a number.
yes.
We've worked together on 3 different companies. So
awesome. And you are going to be really busy down in Orlando. You have got 4 big days lined up for yourself. You've got 2 academy classes, and you've got 2 sessions to present during Summit. I figure we'll just start off with your academy classes, and we'll just work our way down the list for everybody.
Great.
So
I'm hoping that I don't get hoarse from the academy classes. Those are full day events.
they
And,
are, yes.
I know you've taught, so you understand that being able to recover from those and then do your regular session, you need some downtime. Um,
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
it's interesting that my fixed asset class is a subject that actually brought me into the user community. I had worked for a partner for 8 years, and then wound up going to work for one of my clients. And I was just looking for some other information out there, and happened to come across back then it was called the NAV user group community. And there was this topic going on about fixed assets, and they were struggling to understand why you could implement fixed assets after somebody went live. Again, people put in these softwares for the accounting functionality, or maybe for some operational functionality that their other system doesn't provide. But one of the things that always seems to get left behind is fixed assets, because we can do those on spreadsheets. And I
Hmm.
got involved with the group and was trying to explain that, you can actually do this at any point in time. And I'm very familiar with the process, because my first experience, we were talking about that earlier, my first experience with Navision was with a partner, and we had a rental vertical. The rental vertical required that you rented fixed assets. Obviously, you had to have fixed assets in your system. The other thing it did do was it also, rentals, in order to be very profitable, you have to be able to service your own gear. Because if you're always sending it out for repairs, those costs get up there. So the two classes I'm teaching, fixed assets and service management, are things that I've been familiar with for at least a couple of decades. So I have a hands-on over some of the folks that have only been in the system a little bit of time, and that's why I like to share. And in that fixed asset class, our users are going to start with my attendees are going to start with their own skeleton environment. It'll only have a chart of accounts. So during the class, they're going to create all the setups, all the fixed assets, and by the end of the class, they'll have posted depreciation for both the book and tax methods, and they will also have disposed their assets. So they're going to get a full hands-on, and it does take the day. I mean, at the end of the day, I do have extra topics out there that we could discuss, but we usually pick one that we're going to skip so that we can get through the rest of it. So it is a full day, and I will say this: it's it's intended to be the users who want to do this after they've gone live, but partners will certainly benefit, especially these new guys that are out there that are being hired. Business Central, as you said, is the big buzzword these days. Partners are
Well,
looking to add staff. This is a great way for their staff to learn how to do this. So we had a great time last year, and I've taught this class, I think, 3 times now. This will be the fourth. I really enjoy teaching the class. And then as we
awesome.
move on, that service class, we will have inventory ready to go in there, but they have to go through all the service management setups. They'll have to handle internal warranties. They'll learn how to do manufacturer's warranties, sell service contracts, put service orders out on those service contracts. So again, this is a very hands-on. These are not things where, I'm up there and by the end of the class you get bored listening to me. I basically give them some samples, and then let them go through the transactions. I walk around the class, help those who are struggling, and by the end of the class, we have all of our transactions posted, and everybody understands where we're going. So it's been a lot of
Nice.
fun.
And those are your two academy classes. That is the weekend before Summit actually kicks off. So that's October 18th, a Saturday. It's a whole day class for that first fixed asset class. And the title of it is Fixed Assets A to Z, including the kitchen sink for Business Central. And then you've got the one on Sunday, October 19th. It's an all-day class as well, 8 a.m. to 5 o'clock. The title of that one is Service in the Real World. Now, for everybody who is interested in going to these classes, which, you know, we all teach classes online all the time nowadays, but a classroom training environment is a completely different approach. There's a lot of people who really miss that in-person environment. So having classroom style training is a great addition for this conference. And registration for the Academy. I want to keep you in mind about that as well. So the website, SummitNA.com, you got registration for Summit itself. If you're interested in the Academy classes, on that same website, you'll see the classes listed, and those are separate registrations. So check for those separately on their pages too.
Thank you for letting people know, because I will tell you there's a deadline. And I will also say that if we do not get enough registrations for some of the classes, some of those classes do get canceled. So it's important that they sign up and be ready to go.
And Rob, do you know what the deadline is?
I believe it's the first week of September. Last year it was
Okay.
the first week, the end of the first week of September, but I'm not positive on that. So again, you have
Okay.
about a month from now, you need to be, if you're not going, or if you haven't signed up, you need to get registered.
Okay, good deal there. And then during the week for the summit sessions, you have 2 sessions lined up there as well. You have a couple days break, and then you come back on Wednesday, the 22nd. You have an 8 o'clock in the morning session titled "There's More Than One Way to Calculate WIP in Business Central." So, so hopefully your voice will recover for that session, and you'll be ready to go that 8 o'clock in the morning.
So, I'm glad you are talking about these sessions, because one of the things that the Business Central community is trying to do is get more of our users involved. As a partner, I know a lot of stuff, but I want to say it from this point of view. Users always want to know how somebody else in their community is using the software. And this class, this session that I'm working with, is actually a co-presentation with somebody from the user community. So again, this is a great session to go find out what somebody else in the community is doing with the software. We are trying to get, as I said, more people involved. So if you see one of our speakers out there and you want to get involved, or you want to know how to get involved, reach out to one of our speakers and approach them and say, hey, I think I can add to this, or I want to know how to do this. So again, I'm speaking with a co-presenter. My co-presenter is a user, and always looking forward to that. That said, I'm actually co-presenting on the second one. We're going to be talking about what are the options in service. Service management does have a lot of great functionality, but one of the lacking things in it is the ability to, you're remote and you want to have your technicians out there. What do you do for dispatching when all of a sudden you've got a hot call and you need to get somebody out to run that job, or the technician is out there and he needs to take pictures and get e-signatures and things like that? So we're talking about options. I'm going to walk through the basics of a service management setup, and then we're going to talk about, well, what do you do to manage those when those technicians are out on the road? So those are 2 great sessions that I'll be co-presenting with. Looking forward to saving some of my voice.
Awesome. And that second session you just mentioned, the title of it is Streamlining Your Service Dispatching and Order Processing in Business Central with ExpandIT. And that is Thursday morning, 8:15, which
Yeah,
Thursday is the last day of Summit for everybody.
yeah, and it just seems like they love to give me those early morning sessions. So that means it's not a late night the night before for me.
Well, Wednesday night is the big party night, I think. So, but you'll
Well,
have a good crew in attendance, I'm sure.
I'm sure
And
I'm
you
going to
said,
have a lot of coffee that Thursday morning.
there you go. And for your co-presenters, for that one for streamlining your service dispatching and order, that's with John Macdonald.
Yes. So John and I've worked together on a couple of projects using ExpandIT, but this is not to talk about ExpandIT per se. It's to talk about the options of what can you do to, how do you handle those shortcomings that there are some things in Business Central that we could certainly use. And, there are a lot of apps out in Business Central. I forget how many thousands of apps are out there now on the in the marketplace, but everybody is coming up with these things that make your life a little easier out there in Business Central. So it's a
Right.
phenomenal event.
And then you are co-presenting on the other session as well. That is with Tiffany Collums.
Yes, Tiffany is a user here in the Houston community. She helps us with she actually serves on the Business Central User Group Advisory Board, and she is also active with our Houston chapter. I mentioned earlier that we used to have local chapter meetings. Well, we've reinitiated that program again. And Houston is, by then, we will have already had 2 local user group chapter meetings. And our first one was last month, and we have another one coming up on August 14th. So if you're listening to this podcast and you are in the Houston area, August 14th, go out and register to attend our local chapter.
Awesome.
The other thing, Noah, we didn't mention, but I'm also a member of the BC3 Amigos, and we also have a podcast out there, a webinar that we do monthly. So we talk about, it's myself, Steve Chinsky, and Kim Dalfeld. And I wish I had a little blog to put out there so you could link to it, but certainly Google BC3 Amigos on YouTube and you can find us. And we talk about different topics out there for the user community.
Well, Rob, when I post this on LinkedIn, we can add those links in the comments there.
Excellent.
Yep. So you got co-presenters for these 2 sessions. The classes, are they co-presented, or are those just you?
I wish they were, because as I mentioned it, as you're aware, your voice gets tired at the end of the day. But no, I am teaching those classes solo.
Okay. And the 2 sessions you have, those are breakout sessions, 1 hour each. And L&L Consulting Services, I believe you do have a booth in the expo hall as well.
Yes, we do. So be sure to stop by, say hello.
I think you will have a lot of traffic, Rob, because I looked at the map. They're near the big Dynamic Communities booth, as well as like almost right across the aisle from the puppy station.
Yeah, that's something new this year. And, I know that the animals seem to get a lot of attention, and that's kind of cool for the community.
Yes. Yep. So you've got a full schedule there. You've got your booth as well, which I'm sure you'll be working the booth some, right?
Yes, we all take a turn over there, the booth, to say hello to folks that stop by.
And if people have questions for you about your classes or about your sessions, what's your preferred method of contact for them?
My email is there, and also I certainly take cell phone calls. Nowadays you got to be all over the board. So either way, I take cell phone calls, and I also respond to emails.
So you said you're there. I don't see them on the profile on the website.
That's just, we'll have to update that. So that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that.
All right. So, and we can put them in your comment section as well.
All right. That
on
sounds
LinkedIn. Good. Okay. Cool. So a lot of great information there. So you have a busy schedule. You got your booth as well. Easy to contact you. We'll get that on the links there for you. Anything else that we have not covered about your time in Summit?
Well, I just want to say again that this is an absolutely marvelous opportunity for users. I'd like to say that your price of admission, now it doesn't include Academy. Academy is a separate registration, but your time at the Summit includes discussions that you might have with your partner about problems. It gives you an opportunity to interact with other users. When you go to these sessions, those people are in there to hear what you're there to hear about. And there are some great sidebar conversations after class or after the sessions where they get together in the hallway talking about commonality in their discussions. So it's a great way to network and also find out what's going on in the community. So highly recommend attending Summit.
Yep, those 2 things there are huge points about those conferences. The educational piece about it, learning about the products that Microsoft is delivering for the community, for all the ERPs out there, learning all those topics, and networking. That's the other big thing, though, you mentioned networking at these conferences so that you get to associate a real person with an email account or LinkedIn profile. It's always great to know the real person behind those so that when you go back to your office and you have a problem, and you're trying to figure out how to solve your problems, and you're like, oh, well, this is the person I talked to at Summit. They handle this. I'll call them and see if they're available. So it's great to meet people and know who to contact.
One last thing, Noah. The folks at Summit, those people who are going, they should not be afraid to approach the speakers. Speakers always want feedback. They always want to know, did we address your issues? Are we covering what you want? So please don't be afraid to speak to the speakers or talk to us. And I always tell people, if you want to see me, head towards the hat. If you want to avoid me, head away from the hat.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, hey, Rob, thank you so much for joining me today. It is always great to share with our audience news about upcoming events like Summit and to speak with people like you who have been in this community for so many years and are readily available to share your knowledge with everybody. So we really appreciate you being there and being so um, uh, um, generous with your knowledge with everybody.
Well, thank you, Noah. Again, we all learn, we all benefit by sharing. So that's great.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. And we hope to see you all in Orlando. Rob, I'll be there. I'll look for you in person.
All right. Sounds great. Y'all have a great afternoon.